Well, we have our first playoff clinching scenario of the season this week as we head into week 13. But will they do it? Let's dive into our predictions. Before we do, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Who do you think is going to win and who is going to win big in week 13 in a critical week of the NFL season? Also, let's go ahead and dive into the first playoff clinching scenario. It is the Philadelphia Eagles who can clinch a playoff berth, but it all starts with a win or a tie. If they tie, then they need a Rams loss, a Packers loss or tie, and either a Saints loss or tie or a Falcons loss or tie. If they win, then they need either a Rams loss or tie or a Detroit loss and a Green Bay loss or tie. So it all comes down to that, but Philadelphia cannot lose this week if they want to keep that alive. Teams that can be eliminated this week, we have the Carolina Panthers with just simply a loss. The Arizona Cardinals and the New England Patriots can also be eliminated. But let's dive into week 13 predictions right now. So starting things off, as always, with Thursday Night Football, this one between the Seattle Seahawks and the Dallas Cowboys. This game critical for both of these teams as the Seahawks are looking to maintain their place in the playoff picture with a win, but the Cowboys are also hungry to try to keep up with the Eagles. They are now 2 games behind Philadelphia and cannot afford to fall behind another game. That being said, I think Dallas does pull off the victory here. I feel like they are just the better team in general, although it would not surprise me if Seattle fights back and does end up pulling off a win here. Up next, we got glorified Tank Bowl. The Los Angeles Chargers going to New England to take on the Patriots, and I have the Patriots falling in spectacular fashion here to the Chargers. Up next, we have the Detroit Lions looking for a big rebound here against the New Orleans Saints in the Bayou. And I have the Lions coming up with a win. I feel like this is their get-right game. I feel like this is the game that they go in and just say, hey, we've been beat up the last couple weeks. We're going to beat up on you as hard as we can. And I think the Saints are the unfortunate victim of this beatdown. Up next, we have the Atlanta Falcons going to New York to take on the Jets. And I feel like the Jets, with Aaron Rodgers' practice window beginning, I feel like they will rally around them and rally around Rodgers and get themselves a big win at home that will keep them in the playoff picture for a Rodgers return over the Falcons. Up next, we have the Arizona Cardinals going to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. This game going to be a fun one to watch as the Pittsburgh offense putting up their first 400-yard game in 2 years last week. And meanwhile, the Cardinals have been struggling, but things have been looking up since the return of Kyler Murray. But this game being at Pittsburgh, it is a tough location to play. Renegade will be blasting, the inner Yinzer will be out, and the Pittsburgh Steelers will get a win. Up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts going to Tennessee to take on the Titans. This game going to be a big one for both of these teams. The Colts trying to keep in it for the AFC South. The Titans trying to keep their hopes alive, but also trying to tank at the same time. And I feel like the Colts do come up big in Tennessee on this one with a critical win. Don't know why I'm holding the terrible towel, but they will come up with a critical win when they need it in Tennessee. Up next, we have a no-brainer here. The Washington Commanders hosting the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins beat down on teams below 500. Dolphins are going to cream here. Up next, we got the Denver Broncos taking on the Houston Texans. This game going to be a big one as the Broncos are the hottest team in the league, whereas the Texans are the biggest surprise team in the league. And overall, I feel like the Texans will be able to edge out the win here. It's going to be close, but I feel like they can edge out the win and get it big time here and get it done at home against Denver. Up next, we have the Carolina Panthers going to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. The Panthers having fired Frank Reich, I feel like they are going to have a decent time, but they are taking on Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. I did initially take Carolina, but despite that, I am going to go with Tampa Bay to get the big win here, as they are trying to win the NFC South. They are only a game back, too. Keep that in mind. But I feel like the Buccaneers get the job done here. Up next, we have the Los Angeles Rams playing host to the Cleveland Browns, who might be without DTR. I have not seen any updates on that, but it's either PJ Walker or a washed Joe Flacco going to LA to take on the Rams. Now, Myles Garrett can be a big factor if he plays, but I feel like the Rams are on a situation right now. They're on a hot streak. They're a team with nothing to lose, and I feel like the Rams will get it done at home against the Browns and a big win for their playoff hopes. Up next, we have game of the week. The San Francisco 49ers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. This game going to be big for both of these teams. The Eagles having a chance to clinch the playoffs with a win here, or at worst a tie. But the Niners are trying to fight for the number 1 seed. They've pretty much got the NFC West locked up, but they are going to vie for that number 1 seed to make the road to the Super Bowl on the NFC side go through Santa Clara. That being said, I feel like the Niners are going to get a big win here, especially because the Eagles have been looking pretty sketchy. Now, they have found ways to win, but I think that the Eagles have been looking a bit sketch recently. So I feel like the Niners have a big opportunity here in Philadelphia, and they will pull out a big win. Up next, Sunday Night Football, Kansas City Chiefs going to Green Bay to take on the Packers. This game going to be a big one to see if Jordan Love is really the guy, but the Chiefs are just an unstoppable force, and I feel like the Chiefs will absolutely dominate in Lambeau and get a massive, massive win over the Packers. And last but not least, we have a huge and critical game for the number 1 seed race in the AFC. The Cincinnati Bengals going to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Now, the Bengals themselves are not fighting for it, but they can play spoiler if they can get a win over the Jaguars. Now, that being said, the Jaguars are a better built team right now than the Bengals because the Bengals don't have Joe Burrow. So the Jaguars should have a relatively easy time getting a win here, and the Jaguars, as a result, are my prediction for this game in a dominating fashion. Well, that is going to do it for me today. If you guys did like, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe, as it does help me out a whole lot. It tells me that I'm making content that y'all enjoy. If you haven't already as well, make sure you check out our power rankings video down here so that you see how I think each team stacks up. And with that, I will see you guys later. Peace out and have a good one.